Okay. All right, you guys, we're back. I don't know what's going on with the connection, but we're going to try this again. Okay, here we go. Coleman, let me try to bring you back on. Okay. All right, you guys, we got knocked off. All right,
Yeah,
time
I
we
don't
get
know.
on
Maybe
here,
it's a bad
the end.
signal. It's still bad. Where you at? I was just saying, like, so here it is.
It says low connection on your end. It's not saying low connection on my end.
I got full bars. Everything okay on your end?
You breaking up.
I don't know what to do. Um, I'm in my normal area. Usually the signal's pretty good here. It's still breaking up. All right. So basically, I was saying why people known me to be uh uh I have. Can you hear me now? I can't hear anything you're saying. Can you hear
Yeah,
me
you're breaking up. You're
now?
breaking
Okay.
up. I can't hear
Okay.
you.
Mhm.
Um, but you guys that are watching, I don't know what you're believing God for. But God is God is showing up in a new way. Okay, yeah. Okay, Sequoia. Okay, so you can hear me good. All right, we'll try to bring Coleman back on so he can finish he can finish what he was saying. But sometimes we have to be at the back of the line in order to be brought to the front of the line, because sometimes being at the back of the line um prepares us to be at the front of the line. And the thing about being at the back of the line is that it gives you a perspective of what the front of the line is doing. And when you have that perspective, you can lead in a better way. You can lead in a greater way. You can be more effective at what you're doing. So if you felt overlooked, if you felt undervalued, if you felt like people don't see you, you get to be at the back of the line, because what's happening is your God is building the character in you that will allow you to lead the line in a greater way. So now is the time for you to go from the back to the front. Now is the time for a new position, new access, new elevation to be. That's right, the last shall be first. New elevation to be awakened in your life. So it's not the time to be in your feelings about where you are, what you've been through, what. It's the time to be thankful that God has given you the experience that you need to walk in a greater way in what He is taking you into. Because the perspective that the back of the line gives you is a perspective of everything. When you're at the front, you can't always see what's going on. When you're at the back, you get to see a full perspective of everything that is happening ahead of you, so that when you walk to the front, you can respond accordingly. So I'm speaking right now to leaders, to those people who God has called to be kingdom influencers, who are going to go into systems. See, because sometimes He has to make us invisible to people so that we can see who they are. Because sometimes when people know who we are, who God has actually called us to be, they will not show themselves to us. I've been in multiple situations where I'm like, God has put me in settings where there are people around who are in leadership, And because they overlooked me, they showed me who they really were. And so if you felt invisible, it's because you were supposed to be. Because there are things that you need to see, because when God elevates you, those are the very things that you're going to have to speak to as a leader. Those are the very things that you're called to shift and change and influence. And so when you are at the back of the line is the place that gives you perspective to operate in the front of the line. So don't be in your feelings about being in the back of the line, because you're about to go to the front. You're about to go to the front. Because you've spent your time, you've been humble, you have served well. And because you have been willing to do that, and you did it with a willing heart, you're going to the front of the line. And when you go to the front of the line, you will be a better leader because you were first in the back. And I want to speak to all of those people who, that's right, Sequoia, position for increase. And the position for increase starts at the back. You can't truly be a great steward over increase until you're willing to stand at the back of the line. Because there's a sense of entitlement that a lot of people have. That's right, David. He went from the pasture to the palace. And he was willing to continue to operate in the pasture, even though he had already been anointed for the palace. There's a beauty in that when God makes you a promise and you know who you are, and you know that he's called you to do a great thing, and you know he's called you into a greater position, but you're still willing to walk at the back of the line. That is the test and the show of a great leader. When you're willing to take the spears that are thrown at you and not throw them back, that is the test and the showing of a great leader. So now is the time to thank God for the pasture, because it's the pasture that's going to allow you to maintain your position in the palace. It's the pasture that is going to give you the insight and the wisdom and the strategy. See, David learned how to fight lions and bears in the pasture. He learned how to bring down giants in the pasture. He didn't learn that stuff in the palace. David had to be in the pasture to gain the strategy to figure out how to bring down giants and lions and predators that would seek to devour him. He had to get that strategy in the pasture, so that when he stepped into the palace, he knew what to do. You see, because the thing about being in the palace is your learning curve can't be, it has to be steep in the palace. You can't have this shallow learning curve when you step into the palace, because then you're the king. There's way more at stake. Your decisions have a greater impact when you're in the palace. So the pasture has to be the testing ground. It has to be the training ground for you. It has to be your trial and error. It has to be the place where you actually discover the true strength and power that you walk in. You don't have time to make all those discoveries in the palace. Because once you get in the palace, there's another work that has to be done. The work that needs to be done on you needs to be done in the pasture, not in the palace. So what I'm saying to you is that your pasture season is coming to an end, and God is calling you into the palace, but do not despise the pasture season. Because the pasture is where you gain the strategy and the insight and the wisdom to operate in the palace. So don't despise your pasture season, because every lesson that you learned in the pasture was for the palace. Every experience that you had in the pasture was for the palace. Every training that you had in the pasture was for the palace. You have to take it with you. So if you despise the pasture season, you're going to reject everything that God taught you in that season, and you're not going to be able to take it with you to operate in the palace. You're going to take some spears in the palace too. But what David came to understand was that it was those spears that actually made room for him to step into the palace. We have to come to understand that. We have to come to understand that the season that we have been in is not to be despised. Whatever hardship you've been in, it had a purpose. Whatever struggle you've gone through, it had a purpose. Whatever people that have overlooked you, that have mistreated you, they had a purpose. Because you know what? When you get into a greater level of leadership, you can't hold those same grudges against people that you did when you were in the pasture. You still got to be a leader to those people. You still got to love those people. You still got to lead those people. You still got to direct those people. You can't reject them just because they did something to you. That's why you had the pasture season, to teach you how to take the spears and still get back up. And I'm speaking right now that everything that God sent you back into by taking you into the pasture is being restored, it's being revived, it's being renewed. So, you know, when I think about David, when I think about Joseph, and we think about their families, I want to speak about families right now. Their families overlooked them. Joseph's family left him in a pit. David's family left him in the pasture. While Samuel was coming to anoint the new king, they didn't even think about him. And it's very easy for David and Joseph to have said, I'm not dealing with them anymore. But when Joseph's family came back to him and he was in power, guess what? He still had to love them through it. He still had to lead them. He still had to provide for them, even in spite of the things that they had done to him. Do not despise your pasture, because the pasture is designed to break the Saul out of you, Saul that you have in you, because you spears that are thrown to you when you step into the palace. So I don't care what your family has done to you. I don't care what your friends have done to you. I don't care what they've said about you in your faith walk. I don't care how they've doubted you. I don't care how they've hurt you. I don't care how the people in your inner circle, your outer circle, your church family, whatever hurt you've experienced, I'm speaking that you are healed from it now. That you walk into your palace season in wholeness. That you will not be affected by that you will not take that bitterness, that everything that you feel that you've lost, not just monetarily, not just in possessions, everything that you feel like you've lost in love, everything that you feel like you've lost in trust, it is all being restored. Even what past generations have left on the table, even what past generations have lost and not restored, those are your reparations. They belong to you. And I'm speaking that it is restored. Every bit of it. Every bit that has been left on the table by your bloodline, you are recovering it. There is reconciliation coming to your relationships. There is reconciliation coming to your life, to your finances, to your heart, to your mind. It's all coming back. Plus some. Trust God on another level. Don't despise the pasture. And your restoration and your reconciliation and your reparations are all being released to you now. I'm going to leave that word right here because that's the season that we are in. That's where we are. That's what God is doing. Will you trust him? Will you have faith? Will you move in everything that God has been cultivating in you to walk into your palace? It's already available. Step into it. I love you guys. I'm praying that you recognize the shift that's occurring right now, and that you will walk into everything that God has for you. That abundant blessings are released over every area of your life now. I love you. Be blessed and receive the manifestation. Bye.